All right, everyone, we're out here with a buck we like to call Kong. This was 2021 target buck for myself, Hunter, and Brett. Unfortunately, we did not get our paws on him after a kill, but my cousin right here, Adam, who actually his dad owns the farm, he got him November 17th? November 17th with a gun after a long bow season. We had a couple close encounters with him. So we're here with Adam tonight kind of to tell the story. None of us were actually here. We were all actually up at school. And Adam went out and we got a text from him late that night, said, "He's dead, boys." And we knew who it was. Kong finally hit the ground. It took us, we hunted hard whole October, had a couple really close encounters. Hunter actually had him at 50 yards. I had him at like 200, but it was awesome just to see him. But finally got him down. So kind of just tell us the story. I don't know how that night kind of came into play.
Well, I got a call from my dad on my way home from work, and he had said that he had seen the buck running around in one of our hay fields in front of the woods, and he was chasing does. And my dad seen him run into the face of the front woods and bed down with 3 or 4 does. And so I was on my way home thinking about it back and forth. Oh, do I really want to go out? Is it really worth going out? It's kind of rainy. It's kind of cold. It was like high 30s, almost 40 degrees, kind of rainy and just a nasty night. And I got home and my dad says, well, just go out. You don't have anything else going on. So I made up a game plan of where I was going to sit, and I headed out back, and I had all my stuff with me. I mean, I was not prepared at all. I was wearing my work clothes still. I put a camouflage coat on, and that was all I had on. I walked out, and I climbed up in a treetop, and I sat down. And it was raining, and it was cold, and the wind was blowing probably northeast, right to my back. And I'm sitting there. You know how you get antsy, and you just decide, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get down. It's just not that right night. So I got all my stuff policed up, and I started to climb down the treetop that I was sitting in, and I seen a deer, and I'm like, it's kind of odd for a deer to be out this night. So I sat back down, and I pulled up my binoculars, and I looked, and I was like, man, that deer is big. And so I got my gun ready, and the deer just kept coming, just right on a trail, just walking right across the middle of a wide open hayfield. And I'm like, all right, when he gets to about right there, it's going to be about 35 yards, and I'm going to shoot a deer. Didn't care what it was. I was going to put meat in the freezer. So I pull up my 350 and look through the scope and realized that maybe I should zoom it out because all I was seeing was horns. And so I zoomed it out, and I'm like, holy cow, that's a pretty decent sized deer. And so I kind of whistled at him, and he kind of just turned his head and looked at me, and put a round right through his lungs, and he hit the ground, and I just about fell out of the tree. And I said, oh boy, he dropped like a ton of rocks. I better get up and get another round in so he doesn't just take off. And he kind of jumped around and hopped around in the grass a little bit, and I ended up putting a second shot into him just to make sure he wasn't going anywhere. I ended up shooting him in the lungs again. And about that time, I called my cousin Jake and attempted to tell him that I had just shot a nice buck. And it wasn't until I sent him some pictures that it did some justice of which deer I had actually shot. And that was pretty much it. I called my dad and I said, hey, you better come down here and help me get this deer out of the field. He's over here, what'd you get? I said, well, I shot a buck, but I said, you better get down here and help me with it. So he come down, and we loaded him up and brought him up here, and we skinned him out and took him to the taxidermist the next morning. That was the extent of it. Like I said, I was not out to kill this deer by any means. I was out to shoot a deer and put it in the freezer. I shot one deer, put meat in the freezer, and it just so happened it was the deer that everybody else was looking for. I actually felt bad. I really did. These guys had been hunting a long time and been putting in a lot of time to get this deer, and I go out for an hour in the worst possible night, and he walks in front of me at 35 yards. All these guys have put hours and hours in this stand, and I go out for an hour, and there he walks in. So there's not much rhyme or reason to when the big bucks show up, but sometimes the worst nights are the best nights.
Now tell us about the tree stand you were sitting in.
Well, it was basically a broke off treetop, and I was sitting on top of it right where it broke off on the tree, and just kind of leaned back against it and sitting there drinking a cup of coffee at 5 o'clock at night, and it was raining and kind of blowing, and all of a sudden here comes a deer. So I'm like, oh, I better set my coffee down and see what's coming.
How did the taxidermist respond to him seeing the buck?
Well, we walked in, and he said, well, I hear it's a pretty good sized deer. And they walked in, and I was carrying it with 2 hands, and he just kind of dropped his bottom jaw, and he goes, I think that's the biggest deer that I've ever mounted out of Michigan. And he didn't have enough good things to say about it. He was just so surprised. And he actually told us that he locked his shop every night and covered the windows because he didn't want anybody getting in there and trying to take pictures of it or anything. He was trying to be very secretive about it and didn't want to advertise it real well. It was kind of an on the farm deal. We just wanted to get the deer and didn't want too many people really knowing about this deer and how big it actually was.
Now, besides Jake, Brett, and Hunter, who else knew about this deer before you killed him?
Well, obviously my dad and my grandpa both knew about it. They had been seeing him all season. My dad seen him in velvet multiple times at 30, 40, 50 yards. My grandpa had seen him a lot. A friend of mine had heard about it just in passing with these guys, but nobody had really laid eyes on pictures of it or anything other than these guys that are here with me tonight.
Alright guys, so that pretty much wraps up the story of Kong, a buck that we nicknamed way back in August of 2021. And first off, congrats to Adam and the awesome hunt that he had. Unfortunately, we didn't get it on video. We didn't see the arrow going through him or a bullet going through him. We got a bunch of video of him off in the distance kind of doing his stuff, but we never got him within bow hunting range. But the whole reason kind of for this video is we wanted to actually do a hat giveaway. Down in the bottom corner here, we probably got like a black hat or something showing up. We wanted to do a giveaway there, and it was actually we wanted to do the total score of this buck. You guys have been all commenting from our Instagram reel, and the total score of this buck, Adam, was
16 measurable points, scored 180 and 5/8 inches.
180 and 5/8 inches. So we're going to look through the comments and see who's the closest. We're going to give that hat away. We appreciate all the comments. And this is just a heck of a story of Kong. And hopefully we got some genetics in the woods for this upcoming 2022 season. And we can get something similar down to his style. So congrats, Adam. Thanks for coming out for us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.